Hey y'all, it's Dolores, the pastor's daughter. I just wanted to address this question in this video. And that question is, have I spoken to my father or attempted to speak to my father about the issue? And so what I find is that's difficult is that when I think about the questions, I could just answer them directly, but it doesn't really make much sense, in my opinion, unless I give background information. Like if I lay the groundwork, so to speak, and kind of tell you how it all started. So when I think about if I've spoken to my father, when I think about the question, have I spoken to my father in the past? The short answer is yes. And I'm going to tell you in this video about the very first time I remember speaking up to my father. And that was when I was about 5 years old, and my father was tickling me. And my father, he always, he liked to play, but sometimes his play would turn deviant, or it would be painful, or it just wasn't enjoyable for whatever reason. And usually it was, in my opinion, it was because he wanted it to be unenjoyable, because it was really only intended for him to enjoy it. And the enjoyment that he received off of play is because his play would turn violent, because it would turn deviant, or it would be unpainful or uncomfortable for us, for his kids. And so he often played like that. It was, in my opinion, it was torture under the facade of play. His play was our punishment, so to speak. So this particular time, he wanted to tickle me, and like it always did, his tickles would turn painful. He would start scratching and like pinching at me. This day we were in the car, and he always loved to do this when we were in the car. He would reach his hand back from the front of the car into the back of the car where we were sitting, and he would just, tickle and pinch at our legs, or, just annoy us in whatever way. This day it was my turn, and so he was doing that to me, tickling and scratching at me, and it was hurting. So I remember telling him to stop, and I was pushing his hands away and kicking at him, and he started getting mad at me because I guess because I was pushing him away. And what he did was he took my leg, and he got out of the car, pulled my leg, and slammed it in the car door. And I screamed. And what's crazy is I don't even remember the pain itself. I don't really have any recollection of that. I just remember screaming. And like now, when I think about it and I tell the story, I could still hear my screams. I could still hear a little girl screaming in pain. And in that moment, my father walked away. Like he slammed my leg in the car door and walked away. And it was like in that moment, it taught me that I couldn't really voice my pain. And when I did, it was only met by more violence and aggression and pain. And so that was the very first time that I remember trying to speak up about my father's wrongdoing, about things that just weren't right, things that were just evil. And if you guys know anything about tickling, right? Like, if you like being tickled or like tickling people, like, you know, it could be an enjoyable experience. It could be a moment that two people share to laugh and you know, just to be intimate, or, you know, just to share that moment. But other times, like, tickling is torture. In fact, it's a known torture method in certain countries, and including the United States. I don't know, you know, if how you feel about tickling, but um, it's this is what I discovered when I looked it up. Right, is that tickling sends like a mixed message in your body, and at first tickling is enjoyable, but at a certain point, your body ends up having mixed signals with it, and you might be laughing, or you might have like a laughing sensation, but really it's causing your body a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety. It affects your breathing, and it affects a lot of things, and especially if you're being held down and tickled, you know, past the point of it being enjoyable, that's actually torture. Um, so, you know, it really just made me realize just how serious this issue is with my father, um, just how perverse and deviant and evil certain events were. But these events shaped me, right? Like, they shaped my relationship with my father. They shaped um, my ability to speak up now. And so now I have, you know, a tremendous amount of fear about speaking up. But it's like it's not really justified at this point. You know, I'm not 5 years old anymore. He doesn't have the ability to pull my leg and slam into the door and shut me up. But the psychological damage is still there. The it was a time where he taught me a valuable lesson in my interactions with him, and that was that his displays of love weren't love. That if it was love, then it wouldn't be causing me pain. And if it caused me pain, then I should be able to say, hey, that hurts. And he stopped. But he didn't. He just countered my pain with more. You know, he didn't hear my voice. He didn't feel my hurt. He retaliated. And he hurt me worse, and he hurt me more. And he scarred me. But that's just the very first incident. That's my first recollection of my father's aggressiveness, of his violence, of his evil, of his desire to do what he wanted to do at our expense, at the expense of our physical well-being, emotional, spiritual, psychological well-being. He was willing to do whatever he wanted to do. He was willing to hurt me, and that hadn't changed. That hadn't changed. And so, yeah, I've attempted to talk to my father. And I know who I'm dealing with. Alright, y'all. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye-bye for now.